is 4 something a.m. and we're waiting outside our hotel to get picked up. Oh, I think they are here. Ernie, how's it going, man? Good morning. You tired?
No.
No? Alright, we're off.
Okay, so as you know from the title of this video, for the next 3 days we're going to be living out of a boat, island hopping from El Nido to Coron, which is about 170 kilometers. But the pickup isn't until 8 a.m., so why are we leaving at 4? Well, as I mentioned in the last episode, we had one more thing planned, and this was the only morning we could do it.
Alright, we made it. So, we are doing the sunrise hike on Mount Taraw. How do you pronounce it? Taraw. So I know I said that it was closed, and it actually is closed, but it's closed with the tourism board because there's an accident and they don't want to be liable, so it's closed for a few months. But apparently you can do private guides. So our guide from the Canopy Walk is actually taking me, Aldrin Harris, and Joe, who was at the beach, on the sunrise hike. And I hope, it is cloudy, but I hope we'll get a good sunrise.
After what we had, I know you understand.
All right, here we go. You guys ready?
So as you can already tell, this isn't an ordinary hike. Not only did we have to go through what felt like other people's backyards to get to the trailhead, but there's also no trail. It's all rocks. And I know I called it a hike, but it's definitely more of a climb. We were using both our feet and hands to climb, so I didn't even take out my camera until the end. Luckily, I got my good old GoPro and stuck it on the top of my helmet and hoped for some decent footage. So after about 10 minutes, we took our first break, and trust me, it felt a lot longer than 10 minutes. As tiring as it all was, I was actually more concerned about not slipping off the rocks. Even as we were resting, I stepped on a loose stone and my leg fell through a gap. Definitely could have ended worse, but that's why we have guides. And for anyone watching this that wants to do this climb, quick disclaimer, do not attempt it without a guide. It was hard to tell how dangerous this whole thing was because we couldn't see beyond our headlamps. But I guess that's a good thing, because seeing how far the drop was on such a narrow climb might have made things worse.
Sometimes it's hard to find an anchor through the waves. Let down when darkness fell, light found.
Oh, flat rock. Amazing. I gotta tug on them first, make sure they're, because I know no one does any quality check over here. So.
And so for the next while, it was pretty much all the same. Sharp rocks, heavy breathing, covered in sweat, but having a ton of fun and great conversations throughout. It's kind of crazy how sketchy this actually was, considering all we had were gloves, a helmet, and zero climbing experience. But the guides make all the difference, and it would be basically impossible to get to the top without them. Even at the steep walls, they would tell us which rocks to grab and which ones not to.
Right here?
After about an hour total, we finally made it to the top with plenty of time before the sunrise.
Oh, you can see the city.
Oh, that's cool.
Can I officially say we did it?
Yeah.
We did it. Let's go.
No one told me about this twig on my head. All right, so we are at the top, the peak. How long did it take us?
1 hour, 5 minutes.
An hour and 3 minutes. That's pretty average. Apparently there's a group of 6 people that are on their way up here, so we're gonna have to share the limited seating that's over here. And by seating, I mean sharp rocks. So the sun sets over here, and the view is over here, so we don't really know where to look, but... Oh, sorry, did I say sunset? Okay, listen, it's like 5 in the morning. I had 0 hours of sleep. But yeah, how you guys feeling? Let's start with you, Joe.
I'm feeling good.
You feeling
It's
good?
fun.
You're not tired?
I'm awake now.
You're awake now? Alright. How was it?
I want food.
Aldrin took that deep breath. How was it, Aldrin? I know you had the big backpack.
The water is so heavy.
You brought the full bottle?
I bought 2 full bottles.
You what? Yo, you brought the whole ocean.
Wait, what else was in the bag?
2 full bottles and layers of clothing. Not a good deal.
Yo, we weren't camping up here.
Oh, I
Tell them what you're doing on your phone right now.
Playing Genshin in the back?
He's playing. Been here what, like 1,000 times already?
Yes. I almost had tour guide with him.
Oh yeah? You were
cashews.
And lastly, the man who made it happen, our original guy from Canopy, who is doing some under the table business, taking us up here. How was it?
I'm scared.
That's it?
Yeah.
Good, that's all?
I'm scared also. This is
You're
my first
scared?
time.
I know you're not. He was literally like jumping up and down, like rock to rock. He was chilling.
And so all that was left for us to do was to sit and wait for the sunrise. And well, in true fashion of this trip, it was cloudy, but we were okay with it. Normally I would have been more bummed out, but I've learned that it's not even about the sunrise. We challenged ourselves, we felt accomplished, we had a ton of fun, and most importantly, I got content for the vlog. No, I'm just kidding. Most importantly, we got an experience that we'll never forget. And so we sat at the top, enjoying each other's company and taking in a well-deserved view. And that's how we spent our last hour here in El Nido. It was pretty surreal being at the top, and as much as we wanted to stay longer, we had a boat to catch. Okay, so where are we? Who are these people? And why does it look like we're in the middle of nowhere? Okay, let me backtrack a bit. So after enjoying the view at the top of the cliff, we made our way back down, and yeah, it was pretty crazy seeing everything in the daylight.
Now I can actually see where I would fall. And no, I would not survive.
So we left the peak around 6:45, giving us exactly an hour and 15 minutes to descend the cliff, say our goodbyes, take a tricycle to the hotel, grab our luggage, check out, and take another tricycle to the pickup spot. Thankfully, we made it with literally no time to spare, and we packed our things into a van with some other travelers, and after driving about an hour to the other side of El Nido, we made it here to this beach. So remember when I was at the top of the cliff and I said,
Listen, it's like 5 in the morning. I had 0 hours of sleep.
yeah, I wasn't exaggerating. I'll explain why later, but since I was running on no sleep, I had no energy to vlog for the next few hours. So I'm gonna skip ahead to when we dock at our base camp and catch up on everything there. So about 8 hours later, we make it to our first base camp where we'll be spending the night. It's a pretty remote island, only inhabited by a few hundred people, so definitely a big contrast to El Nido. Now the boat ride itself wasn't 8 hours, but there's a lot of prep and also some stops we made, which I'm about to explain.
So basically we met up, we took a van to the other side of El Nido, and from there we loaded all our luggage to the boat. We took a smaller boat to another island where we had the bigger boat, and then from the bigger boat we just went around, we did a bit of snorkeling, we had lunch. Honestly, it was a lot of fun, but now we're docked here at base camp, and we also have like these little huts that we're sleeping in. I'll show you that right now. What do you think of this place?
I like it.
You like it?
What do you think?
The beds, or like the rooms, are definitely better than I expected. I swear I remember seeing like it's like little pods on the beach or something.
I think that might be for tomorrow night.
Oh yeah. Today's camp is different than tomorrow's, but I'll show you the setup for today. Okay, so I was actually first to get off the boat, so I got to pick my room first. This is like a common 8-room area, and these ones have individual huts. And I wanted an individual originally, but the beds are on the floor and they're also smaller. So I opted for one of these. So this is my room. It's a little dark in here, we don't really have light. So I have all my stuff hanging here. I got 2 small dry bags, towel, snorkel. I got my big dry bag, which is where my camera stuff goes. My camera bag is just chilling there. And this is the main event, the bed, which has mosquito netting, which is very, very mandatory. And yeah, it's a pretty decent sized bed. They gave us a towel and some toilet paper. So like I mentioned, it is a lot better than we expected. And yeah, hopefully it won't be too hot and it'll be a good night's sleep. So on the island of Palawan, we wanted to go to 2 spots, which is El Nido and Coron. And to get between the 2 spots, you either take a ferry, which is about 5 hours and only runs during the day, so you basically burn a whole day, or you can take a flight, which is a little more expensive but a lot faster. However, when we were researching, we found there's actually a 3rd way, and that's to do an excursion, a 3-day island hopping excursion where us and a bunch of other people bring our luggage, go on a boat with a few staff members, and island hop for 3 days from El Nido to Coron. So when we saw that, we're like, let's try it, let's do it. It's risky, but let's just do it. And that's why we're here. We docked our boat right over there, and we are pretty much spending the night here on this island in the middle of nowhere. There's no cell service. The toilets and showers are pretty much a bucket. And yeah, honestly, it's gonna be a good time and I think a really unique experience.
And just like the hike from this morning, a unique experience is exactly what we were looking for. Yeah, flight would have been easier, but nowhere near as memorable. We didn't really know what to expect for the next 2 days, but we're ready to make the most of it. So remember how I mentioned this island is home to a small village? Well, Harrison and I went to go visit, and we ended up playing basketball with some of the kids that were there. They didn't speak a word of English, but we understood each other enough to play basketball, and they seemed pretty happy to play with some new people. We played until it got dark, and this is pretty much how we spent the rest of the night. We did have dinner with everyone on the boat, which the staff prepares, and we just spent the night getting to know each other. Some people stayed up playing cards, but like I mentioned earlier, I had no sleep, so I slept pretty early. And to explain why I had no sleep, the bulk of it was to pack for this trip, and since we leave our luggage on the boat and I didn't want to have to access it, I basically had to pack in a very specific way. On top of that, I also had to prepare all my camera equipment, and I also had to do some YouTube stuff because I knew we wouldn't have service for the next few days. I know it may not sound like a lot, but it definitely adds up, and by the time all that was done, it was already time to leave for the hike. So yeah, I know I didn't film much today, and it's mostly because I was drained, but I called it a night early so I can be fully rested for tomorrow.
It is the morning and I am feeling rested again. I think I went to bed at like 9, was it? So I got a good amount of sleep, and then this morning I like randomly woke up and I saw there was like some nice colors outside of my window, so ran down to the beach here and just watched the sunrise, take some photos and just admire the view. And yeah, right now it's super windy. Actually, it's been windy since this morning, and that also means that when we go to the next island, if it's too windy to dock the boat, we actually have to hike to our base camp. So we'll see if that happens. Today we're doing more island hopping stuff. That's probably like the biggest part of this trip, is like the snorkeling and the beaches, so you'll be seeing a lot of that. But I do like to mix it up, like playing basketball and different activities, and maybe there'll be a bonfire. They say sometimes they do that, so we'll see. But right now I'm just gonna chill here, take in the sun, and wait until breakfast.
Face down, uncharted sound, wounded heart, and feeling the same. The distance between us won't get in between us, and no torn apart we know, finding our way back home.
I just hope it's safe.
Okay, I'm gonna be honest, most of the day was pretty uneventful. Since it was so windy and the waves were huge, we couldn't dock the boat on any of the islands. There was even one with a volleyball net, which we unfortunately had to skip. Other than that, we had lunch on the boat, and then it was just swimming and snorkeling since we could still drop our anchor in the water. If you watched part 1 of this series, you would know that we've already done plenty of snorkeling on this trip, so honestly this was nothing special. It was still really cool to be sailing in the open waters, surrounded by hundreds of islands, and being one of the only boats within sight. But in terms of stuff we did, there wasn't much for me to film, so just like yesterday, I'm gonna skip to base camp, but don't worry, there's still tomorrow, and I promise it gets better.
The distance between us will get in between us and no torn apart, you know. Left in the silence, how lonely the night gets. Hold on through it all, you know.
And so because of the wind, we couldn't dock the boat at base camp, so we dropped the anchor, swam to shore with our bags, and hiked to the other side of the island. I was actually kind of glad it worked out that way because it gave us something new to do. The hike was only about 20 minutes, but being at the top of the mountain and seeing everything from above was definitely a highlight.
Finding our way back home.
Okay, so we made it to the second base camp, and the sleeping arrangement's a bit different. We don't have our own places anymore, but we got this 4-person hut. These are like mosquito nets, which is what we need because this is not an enclosed space. But yeah, Aldrin and one of the other travelers that are on the boat are sitting here, and then me and Harris are down there. And the beach is just behind me there, so it's a pretty cool setup. We didn't really do much today. The whole island hopping thing was like, what do we make, 2 stops? Yeah. And one of them we couldn't stop at. We were supposed to stop at another one, but it was too windy. And then we're supposed to dock at another one, but it was too windy.
You should call it snorkeling.
Yeah, snorkeling off it. Even if it wasn't windy, like, I feel like it's a little underwhelming. I don't know, that's coming from the fact that we were like in El Nido and all those other places, so maybe we were a bit desensitized, but still a lot of fun. You guys having fun?
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah?
Last night was fun. I wish you guys were there. But
Last night was fun? I was too tired.
when I started playing card games, it was weird.
Tonight is the night where we have the best night.
What does that mean?
Going to sleep.
Going to sleep. Actually, there's like no clouds in the sky right now. Fingers crossed that there's gonna be some stars. And also a sunrise because the sun rises right here. So the weather's really good. It is windy, so I can't fly my drone, but overall I think it's gonna be a good time.
So we spent the last few moments of daylight on the beach, just hanging out, watching the moon rise, and before we knew it, it was dark. I know I said the day was a bit uneventful, but by no means was it bad. Yeah, the island hopping so far didn't really meet our expectations, and it did feel a bit repetitive, but sometimes that's the reality of traveling. Not everything you do goes as expected. We chose to island hop for no other reason than to have a new experience, and although there were many factors that were out of our control, it's still up to us to decide how we respond. Sometimes you just gotta make the most of the little things, and that's what we did on our last night. We spent hours under this little hut, eating dinner, having drinks, chatting about our lives, and sharing stories. At the start of this excursion, I actually found it a little difficult to make friends with the other people on the boat. A lot of times it clicks naturally, but not this time. Most of them were very friendly, but everyone was much older than we were. Also, a lot of them were already traveling as a group and would speak their native language amongst themselves, so it was harder to break the ice. But after hours under this little hut, we were definitely all a little bit closer. I mentioned at the end of the last episode that the people you meet have a big impact on your travels, and I think this excursion really proved that to us. It was a bit unfortunate that the wind changed a lot of our plans, but at least it didn't stop us from seeing stars.
The distance between us will get in between us. Hold on through it all, you know. We're finding our way back
So it's our last morning here on the island. Well, I guess our first and last morning, but it is the last morning of the 3-day, 2-night excursion, and we're heading to Coron today. It went by pretty fast. It was only 2 nights, and there were options for longer ones, but I think 2 nights is the good amount for me. Anything less wouldn't be worth the hassle with the luggages and the boat and doing all the extra stuff. And then anything more, I think I'd get tired of island hopping. Or island hopping, I don't know. It didn't really feel like we were visiting many islands because of the wind, but it's okay. But yeah, unfortunately the sun is covered. We're all gonna wake up for sunrise and come onto this rock. I'm on this rock here, and the beach is down there and down there. But yeah, although I don't mind because I get to have this rock to myself. There's some people on the sand and on the beach and stuff, but it's really nice up here. It's been non-stop wind since yesterday morning, as you can tell. But that means no bugs, so I'll take it. But honestly, yeah, I think I'm just gonna stay here for a while and enjoy the view.
So right now we're about halfway to Coron. We didn't cover that much distance yesterday, so there's going to be a lot more sailing today. The goal was to get there before dark and of course make as many stops as we can on the way, assuming we're able to. The winds were still strong, and we were even warned last night that if the wind was as bad as yesterday, we'd have to stay another night on the island. Now, I'm all about plot twists, but I'm really glad that wasn't the case.
Long way to go. Back to the boat and we have to hike again.
After about 2 hours of sailing, we made our first stop at another remote island, and this time we were joined by a few other island hopping boats. We were only here for a short time, and half of that I spent flying my drone since the winds finally let down. Most islands we stop at are only for the shore, so although it would have been nice to do a bit of exploring, we got to stay on the beach. Most people went snorkeling, and I was told there were some blue starfish, so I went to go look for them. I didn't get the best footage since I was so focused on breathing, but I'm glad I got to see some new marine life. After snorkeling, we had our last meal together and then made our way to the second stop. It was another small island, and normally the water would be super clear, but because it was cloudy, it wasn't anything special. Most people swam, but I decided to stay on the boat this time because I had something else in mind.
Okay, so I'm in the back of the boat. This is where the action happens, and I asked them for a little boat tour, so they're gonna give us a tour of the boat. Okay, so show us around.
So,
All right, so this is Alvin. Bam Bam doesn't. Where's Bam Bam? He's too shy to talk to the camera. So I didn't know there were so many of you guys. I thought there was
Bam Bam
only...
versus Alvin. Okay, go! Fight!
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, now we're here on the end of the boat.
Okay.
And this is the washing area.
This is the dishes. Okay.
Yeah, dishes. And then this the main kitchen.
Okay, main kitchen. Oh, is this where you cook all the food?
Yes.
Only two.
Only two.
Okay. Who cooks the food here?
Here, our master chef, Rene, and...
This is the chef? These two?
Nice to meet. Thank you. And this all the things we need to...
This is all their tools. What's in here?
Small tub.
Oh,
sorry.
gotcha.
This one is our toilet.
This is the toilet?
Wanna open?
Sure.
No.
Okay.
Okay.
What's that?
This one is owned by our crew with chicken nuggets.
Chicken nuggets.
Chicken nuggets. And then this is our ingredients.
More ingredients here.
When the first day, this area is full of ingredients.
Oh yeah, on the first day, this was full. And now
Back.
all we have is
Cookies.
a sewing kit. Okay, let's keep going.
On this side, we call it pilot house.
All right, this is where all the magic happens. The pilot house.
Yes.
Okay, so there's a little bench if passengers want to sit here. But this, of course, is the steering wheel. Is that a doorknob?
No.
yeah, it's a doorknob.
Why?
That's for
That's how you build it?
No, I think it's for improvise.
Oh, you improvise,
Yeah.
huh? Okay, and that's the engine.
The engine is Mitsubishi 4030.
Okay, wow, you know your stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. How do you start it?
This one is for accelerator.
So you
move
pulled
fast.
this random string
Yeah.
to make the engine
This
go.
one is
Wow.
locked.
And that's the lock. Wow. So you really started with the string. That's funny. All right, nice and cozy in here.
Another side. This boat is a double decker. You can sit down at the top.
Okay. And you can go over there too. Yeah. And then that's the front.
Yeah, that's the front.
And then our luggage is down there.
Yes, down there.
How much is this boat worth?
It's just like more or less 1.2 million.
Wow.
It's
1.2
Philippine money.
million.
Philippine money.
I would hope so. I would hope so. Okay, well, thank you for the tour. This is nice. And then we have the kayak over here. All right, that's the tour of the boat. Any last words?
God bless all.
God bless all. Amen.
When I saw the captain steering with his foot, I asked if I could have a turn, and I actually got one. Not with my foot though, but still a really cool experience that I didn't expect to have on this trip. And yeah, I actually am steering. There's no autopilot or anything like that as you saw, just a wheel, a string, and a doorknob. We were in very open waters and there was no wind, so it was pretty easy. And although I was only behind the wheel for like 10 minutes, I can say that I've driven a boat in the Philippines. So a bit more sailing later and we made it to the last island before our final stop. The sun was out, the water was blue, and although this was one of the smallest islands, it was definitely one of the nicest. A lot of our day was spent in the boat because of all the distance we had to cover, so I'm glad we had a good spot to spend our last few moments of island hopping.
All right, so we are at another island. This is our last stop. We are actually pretty close to Coron. That actually went by pretty fast, and today was actually a really good day for island hopping. The weather was really good, not a lot of wind, so the boat was moving faster, plus I could fly my drone, and the sun is out now. So yeah, honestly, it's been fun. Would I extend it? Probably not. Definitely not, actually. I'm ready to go to Coron and have my own bed and stuff. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and honestly, the islands here are so beautiful. The water is so clear. So yeah, that's pretty much the end of the 3-day, 2-night island hopping excursion. It's been fun.
Even though it's only been 3 days, it felt like the end of something a lot greater than that. I know I said it didn't really meet our expectations, and it got repetitive kind of quickly, but part of me was still gonna miss it. Yeah, I was mostly snorkeling and being on the beach, and it didn't give me much to film, but it was a new experience, and to me, that's something that holds a lot of value. As much as I would have loved to end off by saying it was one of the greatest experiences ever, it wasn't. Maybe it could have been, and that was actually my expectation. But like I said before, things don't always go to plan. And if that plan is all you ever focus on, you're eventually going to get let down by the things outside of your control. I realized for myself the past few days weren't actually about the islands we visited. It was about doing something new, being in an unfamiliar situation, and just making the most of wherever traveling takes me.
See you, everybody. Take care.
This was definitely a bittersweet moment. It was sad to say our goodbyes, but at the same time we were excited for the next and final part of our time on Palawan, the town of Coron.